Hey sis, welcome to the Sisterhood, Soul, and Strategy podcast, a space for women building businesses that feel as good as they look. I'm Steph, a small town girl from Wisconsin with big dreams to positively impact the world. This podcast is from the heart, where we share real conversations about building intentional businesses that thrive in every season. And the best part, we talk both soul and strategy, and we wrap it all up in sisterhood. Because let's be real, business is more fun in community. So no matter your age or stage of small business ownership, you stumbled upon this podcast for a reason. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to another episode of the podcast. I am so excited about today's guest episode because this has been a conversation a long time coming. My friend Lauren Najar is here today, and we have been connecting on social media for probably the last year. We have yet to meet in person, which we will be this April at Summit. I'm so excited, but I'm just really pumped to have this conversation with her. We've learned so much about each other just through our social media following, which we'll talk more about, but I want to get right into it with your rock bottom moment, Lauren. So welcome to the podcast, and we're going to go right into depth. Like, this is the soul piece of it, right? So we'll talk through how you got to where you are, but a lot of times it's from these pivotal moments. So take us into one of your hardest seasons and what that sparked in you.
All right, I already have goosebumps. Like, we're just really going there. Thank you for having me on. And yeah, I'm so excited to chat with you. And it's my hardest rock bottom moment was getting cancer the second time. And just to I'm not going to go into super details of everything that happened to me, but in a 5-year span, when I was 21, my mom passed away. And then a year and a half later, my dad passed away. And then 11 months after that, I was diagnosed with cancer the first time, and then went through treatment. And then 6 months after I was in remission, I was diagnosed a second time. And so the season was hard. But as I was really thinking about this question, where I am now as a person really came from that second diagnosis, because when my mom passed away, I was still in college. I wanted to still pursue a finance career. I was going to school for finance. Nothing other than my mom passing away and trauma. My dad was doing everything to make life still normal for us. And, he learned how to cook more and was doing all the things. So he made that tried to make that very easy transition for us. So I was still pursuing a degree. I still had plans to move out with my boyfriend at the time, to pursue a job somewhere in the financial arena. When my dad passed away, I was still in college, still was just going to do the plans of, again, graduate and still find a job after college. And, I graduated from college in 2010, and about 5 months after that was when I was diagnosed with cancer. So really, going through the cancer journey, a lot of people will have those rock bottom moments when one parent passes away, or two, both parents obviously passing away, but really it knocked me down to my core and really changed my trajectory of what I really wanted to do in life. And it really, really, really solidified it with me that I wanted to find something that was so fulfilling for myself. Had no idea what that was. Never was really desiring to be an entrepreneur or own my own business. I just didn't know what that was at the time. But I went on this journey to really find something to, help me figure out what I wanted to do. And here we are.
Wow. Well, that's why I asked the question, because in our conversations, I was on your podcast and you had kind of mentioned it, and just through stories and conversations, I knew that you had mentioned you had cancer. I didn't know you had it twice. And the fact that you lost both of your parents within this kind of time frame. I mean, that alone right there is one big, large challenge after another. And so it sparked in you this desire to build a purposeful life through the work that you're doing. And so that's a perfect segue into like, what do you do and who do you serve? And how has some of the challenges that you went through in that time that you just shared changed how you approach business and the philosophy that you lead with?
So, what I do, I guess, surface level, is I'm a business coach. I will always say that I'm a business coach first and foremost. That's what I've been doing the longest. I love doing that. I help people with clarity, marketing, and lead generation. That's sort of my framework where I make it simplified for people. We don't do crazy funnels or anything like that. I did start a marketing agency 5 years ago. We're celebrating 5 years now, where we offer done for you services for like social media management, lead generation, email marketing, website design. And then over the last year, I started my own podcast and started hosting my own intimate events. I don't host conferences or summits like you and some of the other people that we know, but I do smaller intimate events and retreats. Which, side note, you're going to be speaking at my retreat in May, which is exciting.
So excited.
And so that's what I do. But I think like then the deeper meaning of that is I wanted to like with anything that I do, again, it could be very surface level, and I love the KPIs and analytics and tracking of things when it comes to business coaching and sales and the chase and the adrenaline of all of that. I think I will always have that side. But really the bigger thing is why not you? And that's kind of my whole motto but behind what I do and truly making people realize that you don't have to look a certain way or be a certain way or have a certain lifestyle to really achieve some huge success. And I think that really has been my story where I felt like I've been this kind of like underdog and silent killer my whole life where people don't see me coming and I might seem unassuming. I love the underdog energy.
Same.
Yeah, I love that. I love being unassuming and I love people not knowing truly who they're dealing with in a way. So I feel like I look out for those people where I'm not looking for the flashiest people to be in my circle. I want to really uplift those people who may not think that they're capable, but they truly are. So bringing out the best in people too.
So good. I love a good underdog story as well. And yeah, like I think that energy has really served me as well. And through those tough seasons where it would be so much easier to just quit, or to just like go do the easy path. But you choose the path less traveled and you get the rewards eventually, right? But it's not easy. So I love that. And let's talk a little bit about, you mentioned the community events and the retreats that you're leading. And I love that there are different, it's not even levels. There are different types of experiences, right? Where it's like, I truly believe that the intimate spaces are just as powerful, if not sometimes more powerful, right, than the big, huge, large events. And even my own event, like I even said this year, I'm okay with it being a little smaller because it means that the people there are going to get so much more out of it. And there's depth that comes with that. So take us through even like what inspired you to host your first event and bring people together in community, and like how you're filling this kind of missing gap in your own area with what you're building.
I had a retreat back in to, let me rewind. I'm trying to think of the year. It was 2020. Yes, it was right before the pandemic. I was living in Chicago, like right downtown. I absolutely loved living there. You know, I was about a year and a half into my business and I was like, why not host in-person events? I still was at my day job. And so I hosted my very first event February. It was like end of February of 2020. And I loved it so much. I think I had 3 or 4 people come, and they were all from Chicago or the Chicagoland area. And it was like we had it at a wine bar on a Saturday afternoon, and I was just like so pumped. It was so good. And I'm like, I'm gonna do one every month. Then COVID happened and the world shut down. So my next foray into that. So I guess there's always been like and I wanted to do that, right? So I actually hosted an event in 2020, a very small, intimate one. In 2021, I had a retreat where I had 7 women from across the country, and we were going to have a retreat as part of the mastermind to end the mastermind. Well, in fall of 2021, where I was in Chicago technically shut down again too because of a new rise in COVID cases. And a lot of the people that were coming were from states in the northern part of the country. So a lot of their states were super restricted as well, where I think the south part of the country was not as restrictive. So we just decided to do a virtual mastermind. So there's always been this like need for that. Fast forward to like that I was pregnant and had my daughter and moved out of the city, now back to Northwest Indiana. I really have had this like negative, bitter feeling of Northwest Indiana. This is where I'm from. When I started my business, no one really understood what I did. I think sometimes people still don't really know, don't really understand, because being a business coach here in Northwest Indiana is not a common thing at all. I've yet to meet more than one other person that does even remotely what I do. And what I ended up doing was changing my mindset around that of like, I need to, rather than run away from that opportunity, why not educate people and be the trend setter? And that all happened from me being like I needed to be more confident in myself. I started going to events, started, meeting people locally, changing my mindset around that. But the events I was going to in the late part of 2024 were just not great. And not not the event itself necessarily, because I did meet people that I still talk to. It was ran by people who I think really just wanted that like notoriety for themselves. And the events I did not feel like I was even like being grateful that I came there or that anyone was there. It was more so for that person or people to have like the popularity, and it was just like bad vibes all around, and just how these groups were being hosted or how these events were being hosted, it just didn't seem genuine. And I just kept getting this pull. I'm like, I can do this better. Why am I not doing this? And so I quickly realized that like these events are just such a waste of time for me, because I am busy. I'm a mom. I am leaving my house on a weekend to come to something where the host doesn't even say hi to me, doesn't say hi to people as they walk through the door. Or I've been to events where people are coming up to me and asking me like where they need to go because they think I'm the host of the event. And um another thing was like, people like I would go to events and I would be there to hear the person speak, but then I would be asked questions and then I would end up speaking at these events. And so it's just like a big collection of like, for me personally, there was nothing here that I felt was really pouring into people as individuals. And I really wanted to create something that was really going to be supportive of every single person that walked through the door. Because at the end of the day, we all have families, we're all busy, we all could be doing something else. But I want you to know that your money, regardless if it's $25 or $100, you're going to be spending something that is quality time, not only for you, but for your business or personal development. Oh, I don't want to go to an event where the hosts are like getting wine drunk because this is like their night out, right? So, and that was another version of events that I went to. That's not and those are not my goals. If those are the goals of other people, that's wonderful and great, but those are the events that are not for me. The events that I'm creating are the ones that are going to be where it's worthy of you to leave your house and for your own personal development. And to be honest, it has taken me a while to say all of these things out loud because I feel so strongly that I want whatever event that I create or experience that I create, it needs to be worth people's time.
Yeah.
And we're not leaving our house. Like, you can leave your house for anything. Maybe you do want to come and like vent and stuff too to these events, and that's wonderful. That's, you can utilize it for however you want. But I'm going to say hi to every single person that comes through that
Mhm.
door. I'm going to make it known that each individual person is seen. And if I've never met them before, I'm going to like, those are the first people I'm going to go talk
I'm gonna
to.
beeline for them.
Yes, yes. So I feel like even for me personally, I have 4 dinners down. I have a retreat down, under my belt. And I know I'm getting better every single time, and I think now because I do have a validation sort of like, these events and how successful they've been, now I can really share, like, really the difference between a
Yeah.
successful event and not, and really, like, the meaning even behind, like, a community or hosting community events is it's so much more than just putting it on Eventbrite and,
Mhm.
like, getting people together. It's what is your intention behind everything, and how will people leave whatever event it is to feel seen and supported, and make it not walk out of your event and be like, "Why did I even come to this?" I had so many days and nights where I felt like that. So, I'm trying to do that
Oh,
on my end where people
yes.
aren't gonna regret.
Yes, thank you for sharing all of that. Because it just brings more awareness to like there are actually events out there that are not just chit chat, wine nights, let's vent, get togethers. And I think you and I both have this passion to bring women together in a really intentional way. And yeah, it like puts a lot of pressure on us as the event host. Like I feel that pressure. Like it's a lot because we care, and we've been to some events where we didn't feel that same level of care and attention from the host or the people organizing it or the speakers or whatnot. So we get to do it different. And that's what's so exciting. So, since we're on this topic, let's talk a little bit about your retreats coming up this year. Like you had mentioned, be speaking at one of them about speaking and using that to grow your business. But share just a little bit about what's upcoming for your retreats this year.
So we actually have one coming up in April in Dallas. So that is really exciting. I'm actually co-hosting that retreat with one of my friends, Jana Blage. She is located in Dallas and has a really great community down there. And we decided to host a retreat down in Dallas. I'm actually going to be hosting my first Growth and Connected dinner series down in Dallas as well. So this is going to be my first dinner outside of Northwest Indiana. I'm I'm so excited because it's really crazy to say that where I'm like a traveling dinner series now. Um,
Yay.
but Jana actually came and spoke at my retreat last May, and I've known her for a really long time, and we have a lot of synergies in the same way around marketing and events and things like that. And it's such an aligned partnership where again, she has a really engaged community, and to bring my expertise and my dinner series down there is going to be just so huge just for me. Like, again, like if
Yeah.
5 people come, that's wonderful, but it's really cool that she recognizes the retreats and the dinners that I host. Um the May retreat that you're speaking at has been sold out for nearly a year, and
Yeah.
that was also a huge moment, because 6 out of 7 people that are coming for this one all were there last year, and the 7th person that was there last year actually is coming to our July retreat in Chicago. So, again, it's so wonderful for that, but I think the reason why, again, people keep coming back is because of it's worth their time and
Mhm.
they feel seen, but also too, like, and I guess you can talk to this too, like, again, it's one thing to get the speakers, have the notoriety of some of the maybe speakers or elements that you have, but I sold out and have sold spots and retreats without needing to name who's speaking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not, and that's what I think people miss about these events and retreats or things like that is why are you having the community or this event in the first place? People should just be buying into you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the fact that we have the April retreat in Dallas, we have Chicago in May, we have Chicago in July, and I'm actually hosting a retreat in Napa in October. And
Fun.
every single retreat is going to be slightly different. Everything is focusing though on your next level and expansion. But I also go a little bit deeper depending on who signs up. So if I see kind of like the general consensus of where people are at in business, like the reason why I asked you is because it's going to be so timely literally for every single person because every single person coming in May is hosting events or starting community groups of their own and it's so cool to see.
Yay.
It's such a cool like evolution from last May. In July, we have a different group, so I'm already kind of crafting as to who I want there. But I again with every retreat, everything has a theme and each retreat does slightly differ from the next one. But last year we really went deep into reflecting and to dreaming and to creating actually, a plan and executing on what you want to do later in life or later in your business too. So, they're not only they're intimate, of course, by design, but they're meant like everything we do, every dinner, every activity, every speaker is meant to add value to you. And, it's not where we're sitting around and throwing a bunch of ideas at you. We're actually going to execute on those ideas, but
Mm-hmm.
we're also going to make you believe in yourself at a higher level. And we're actually going to make you realize that, okay, yeah, you have these dreams, but now what are you going to do to actually conquer those dreams? So when you come to a retreat, it's really like stepping into your next level self and really like realizing what you're capable of, but like that you actually can do it too.
Hey, it's me interrupting the podcast because you need to know about one of my favorite organic skincare brands. And bonus, it is a small business, and that is Simple in Nature. I am obsessed. I started using the Simple in Nature organic body oil a couple years ago in the winter when my skin was so disgustingly scaly dry. And I had tried every lotion that I could think of. And I met Sabria and she was like, you need to try the body oil. And I'm obsessed. I barely skip a day. It is amazing. My personal favorite scents are Harmony or her current newest scent, which is Serene. It is lavender, vanilla, eucalyptus, and thyme. And honestly, I use this every single day along with my lip oil. And I use my sugar scrub a couple times a week to keep my skin hydrated, nourished, and healthy, not just in the winter, but all year long. If you want to try out your first order, head over to simpleinnature.com with the link in the show notes to get 20% off using my code STEPH20. Oh, hey sis, I am just putting on my favorite lip gloss, Small Town Beauty by Asia. This is my favorite color. It's called 23. It's hot pink and I am obsessed. She has so many different fun colors. She has a lip treatments that can nourish your lips. But personally, I'm a lip gloss bestie and I absolutely love the human behind this brand, Asia. Her mission and vision is to make sure that just because we live in a small town doesn't mean we can't have incredible products like this lip gloss. So if you are a small town girly who loves a good lip gloss, you need to check out Small Town Beauty by Asia. And you can use my code to save $5 at checkout. Hey sis, did you get your ticket yet for Sister Circle Summit 2026? If not, what are you waiting for? This is so much more than just your average and dare I say, boring business conference. This experience of Summit is a Midwest movement bringing together the trailblazing women small business owners across the Midwest and beyond for a 2 day experience that is so much deeper than just strategy and also more than just sitting and listening to speakers. You are going to feel the difference this year. We're at a brand new venue. We have a brand new schedule and flow. We've added brand new pieces to this event, like our soul session and VIP mastermind dinner. So if you haven't gotten your ticket yet, now is the time to do so. Invite your fellow sisters or come solo because you're going to make so many new friends. There is so much intentionality behind this event, from the sisterhood connections to the soul level subconscious work we're going to dig into, as well as, we're always delivering you a business strategy in real time. So what are you waiting for? Go to sistercircle.co, get your ticket today, use my code STEPH, and save on your ticket, and I hope to see you there. Yes, I love that. And I think the activation and implementation is where most people get stuck to try to do it on their own. So to be surrounded by even a small group of women to actually start to implement and integrate these ideas into reality is really helpful. And so I love that. And I think it's so fun to see you like doing events in different places. And I love that they all have kind of their own twist. And like you said, it's going to be really intentional about who else is in the room, and what do they really need from this. So I love that. And you have a lot going on. You also have a podcast. So the Business Over Cocktails podcast, which I was on last year, you launched that in the end of the summer, I believe, or early fall. So you do retreats, you do the growth and connect dinners, you take one-on-one clients. How? How do you do it all? Because I know, and this is such an important conversation because I think people think this about me too. And so I try to be very transparent of like, I'm not doing it all, right? Because I know you're not. You have support and you have help in different areas of your business. Will you walk us through what that looks like? Because you're a mom, like you said, you have a younger daughter. So I think sometimes we see people like us doing all of these things and we're like, well, I could never do that because I'm not them. Well, we're not superhuman. Like we do have help and support. And we're really intentional about where we invite that in to our business. So will you take us through just like different areas of your business and or your personal life of where you've invited in that level of support to do all these amazing things that you're offering?
Yeah, I will say I think there's a difference between starting businesses before being a mom and then having that transition. And I think that unintentionally I've been very strong in boundaries and time management my whole life, and I regularly get requests of how do you manage your day? Take us through your day, because people see like the organization or time management. Again, personally, I think I could be way better, but
Can be.
right, we always can be and have better systems and stuff too. I feel that, I definitely had to go through a transition and complete, you completely need to like blow up how your life is when you have a baby versus what it was pre-baby. And I've always said this too. I think me and you have said this maybe on podcasts that you were on with me, is I think that becoming a mom really enhanced like my superpower to manage time and to do more, because for 6 months I had left my 9 to 5 and then 6 months went by before I got pregnant with my daughter. So I really had 6 months there where I wasn't working a day job. I just had my business and like my
Mm,
dog and my husband. Like I had all of the time in the
I
world, and
remember
I
those days.
yes, right? And then there was this like, when you're pregnant too, like, you're tired, you're not feeling your best. So like you do have to figure out like when to work, and that already started to evolve for me. But when I came back, I really had to find a new normal, because at 5 p.m. it's a hard stop for me.
Yeah.
At I have to be up with her, and thankfully, I think that from a lot of others' experience, maybe babies and toddlers that don't sleep the best. My daughter has had a very consistent schedule, and I think that we're fortunate with that. So, yes, of course, she still has moments where she wakes up at night or wakes up early. This week, I'm solo parenting, so my husband is gone. And for whatever reason, when she knows he's gone, she likes to wake up super early, so then goodbye my whole morning routine that I usually have.
Um,
But to be transparent, I have, my mother-in-law who comes in Monday through Thursday and comes here to our house to watch her from 8 to 5, and that is the reason why I'm able to do so much, but I will then say it still is nowhere in comparison to all of the time I had pre-baby, right? So I do think the argument is that because I am a mom, it really unlocks something in me to where I know exactly the time frame
yeah.
of hours of where what I can do and the work, so I work faster. And I think also to your point too, like we're more willing to say yes to help um, because yeah, we're more and I think that's also something that we have to learn as, again, high achieving women. It's okay to ask for help. And so
Awesome.
we have help Monday through Thursday. My husband also works from home most of the time. He's traveling this week, but he works from home. So I go to the gym at 6:30 in the morning, and he's able to like start his day with her and get her up and ready to go. Um and then as far as like the podcast, I have a podcast manager. I have a VA. I have a marketing
Mhm.
assistant. I have people who do graphic creation for me. So, in my agency, it's really not just me. There are two or three other people that I already work with on a regular basis. I have a marketing assistant for my business and my podcast. Um, for my dinners, one of my best friends comes and helps me the day of dinners. And yeah, like I think it's easy to see, like you said, how much we're doing. And I think that both of us do a really good job of sharing on our Instagram, on our stories of like, we have help, and maybe like our partners are very interactive
Mhm.
and there for us, but then also like I'm thankful I have a mother-in-law who retired and is willing and is local to come and, watch, because I know that that is a luxury. We don't, have to pay for childcare and, daycare and things like that. So we're very fortunate in the support that we have here locally and the people that we have in our lives family wise. But then, yes, I mean, there's 4 or 5 contractors that I have on my business side as
Wonderful.
well.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for sharing all of this because, yeah, like I think just knowing that, like, we both have these like small but mighty teams of finding the right people to fill the gaps that maybe we could do ourselves, but it's just really not the best use of our time and energy. And I think something that I've been trying to talk more about too, and I did a whole podcast on like my investments for the year. And from last year, like one of my largest investments was paying people to support my vision and my dreams. And, whether that is like for me, like daycare, whether it is bringing in my right hand person in my community, bringing in support behind my podcast, like whatever it is. And I'm willing to make less money to be able to run my businesses in a way that feels really good for me and sustainable, and then I can still show up and be a really present mom. And I think like we have to know like what we're willing to dream big and build our businesses, but like at what cost? And like
Mhm.
I learned through my whole first business that it was not worth it at the cost of my own health, my family time. That's a big reason why I left that business was so I could start my family. And so I think just like having that awareness that like, yes, we have support and they also like we pay for it, for the most part. Like, yeah, we can ask friends to help us. We can trade some things. Like, that's all great. But at the end of the day, we're also still paying other people to help us so that we can work Monday through Thursday. Cause I do pretty much the same thing. And I know we've talked about that too, is like taking off some Fridays with my son or just having more chill weekends, even as a realtor, which is kind of rare. But it's like, could I do more? Could I run around all weekend with clients? Yeah. If I really wanted to, I could. But then that takes away from all of the hard work that I'm doing in the week to be able to have my weekend time with my family. So again,
Mhm.
it's like, at what cost are you willing to grow your business and expand? And everyone's in different seasons, whether you have kids or don't have kids, or I see, like, on the horizon, I see people who have older kids who's like, I can do this and that. And my sister's kind of in the season now where she's like finally feeling that capacity coming back. And that's why it's so important to like know the season you're in, know what sacrifices you're willing to make. And like you can have everything you want, but there are always costs to that too. So I think just being aware of that. You kind of touched on it, but I would love to dive a little bit deeper into this. This is another similarity that you and I have, is like our workouts. You
Mm.
work out at 6:30, I work out at 7. Like, tell us why that piece of your morning, or even just the small rituals that you have in your day that ground you, why they're so essential to even your business.
And I will say I had immense mom guilt for leaving that early in the morning. It was about like a year, almost a year and a half of after having her. So my daughter was a year and a half old. When I had her, I had a C-section, so I went through like, recovery and pelvic floor therapy and wanted to get back into like running shape again. I had some issues with my knee. I started going to a chiropractor. So I started, and a physical therapist too, and I started working out, I guess, at physical therapy twice a week, and and starting to run again. And I really and that was really easy for me because those were appointments during the day where I wasn't going to miss that, right? However, that was all that I could find where like I could work out, because what I really loved is when I woke up and I was able to have breakfast with my daughter. Like at that point she was waking up at like 6 or 6:30. um we had breakfast, we would have dance parties, and like and then my husband's home too, so like I loved it so much. But the
Mhm.
more I thought about it, the more I was like, it's not realistic for me to then go at night to work out. And I started to kind of go to like local events, like those kind of things like started happening around that time. And I said, I think that in order for me to be successful, just overall, like I'm going to have to give up these mornings, and I'm going to have to get up earlier, and I'm going to have to find time for me. And I remember crying driving to the gym the first day. And my husband like sent me a picture of him and her like having fun. And then I'm like getting emotional, but he sent me a
Aw.
photo of them. He said like, I love you, mommy. Like, thank you for taking care of yourself or something. I'm like, "Ugh,
You're like, but it's so hard.
I know, I know. I know at the end of the day, that is a huge thing, is that as moms and as if we're running multiple businesses like we both are, like we have to take care of ourselves. And the best way to take care of ourselves is before we have to take care of anyone else. And it's not going to be perfect every day. Like yesterday, my daughter woke up at 6, which she never does anymore, and I think I worked out for 10 minutes. Like
Mhm.
whatever.
But
Like
it was better than nothing, right? Like,
right, right,
it's going to require flexibility, just
right.
like our lives require flexibility. But that's the thing I have to keep coming back to, as well as like, even if it's like walking my dog, better than not getting any extra steps in, right? Like, it's literally just those small moments when you're like, okay, I can do something. And it would be easier to not, right? Because it's just like, just throw your hands up in the air. Oh, I can't today because my husband's gone and she's up early. But you did something, and that
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good reframe and a good thing to remember.
Progress over perfection.
Right, right. And so, yeah, that's the biggest thing here. I think I realized that in order to also do all of the things that I wanted to do, this was before I started hosting events. But I had these ideas. My business was really picking up after being back for a year after having my daughter. I knew I was in seasons of my business previously where I got so busy that I stopped taking care of myself, and I was just so stressful. So the answer isn't take on less. The answer is how am I able to increase my internal capacity where I can handle all of this stuff. So that is really why I work out a lot of times, or like and I I guess my hobby is running. So I do 5Ks and 8Ks throughout the year, and um I'm currently training for one now, and I constantly remind myself of how much running helps my mental health and just like how immediately you feel better.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I know that working out, yes, it's healthy. Yes, it makes you feel good. Yes, it prolongs your health or whatever, but it really makes me happier
Mhm.
and makes me a better mom, but also makes me a better business owner and makes me more confident at the end of the day too.
100%. I love this conversation. I was just talking with my community coordinator this morning about why we want to lift heavy weights, because yeah, it's great for us physically. We want to be strong, but it's really like the capacity to hold what all of these balls that we are juggling, right? All the things that we're carrying, and that kind of next level version of ourselves. When we lift heavy weights in the gym or we go on a really awesome run that just like endorphin high, we can do hard things in our business, right? Like when we push ourselves in the gym, it's like we checked that off. Okay, already did the hard run, already did the heavy lift. Now what's the hard thing in business? Oh, it's actually not that hard because I already did something that was like physically hard. It's like the eat the frog kind of mentality. But yeah, I agree. I just think, and it was hard, really hard for me too to like figure out what that routine looked like as a mom. And kind of the same thing, like um yeah, had to like give up a little bit of what I wanted because I was trying to fit my workouts in during the day, and I'm like, but I'm already working less hours. Like this doesn't make sense. Like it has to happen right away in the morning or it's just not going to happen and I don't have the energy at the end of the day. And that's actually when I really want to spend time with my son after I pick him up from daycare. I want to be present because there's like 1 or 2 hours before he goes to bed then. So it's like it is really hard. You just have to like figure out what works for you. But I just think it's so important, like this conversation behind these rituals and routines, and exercise is a big one for me and other people who I find like you who are building big things and are successful in it. And it comes down to like what you do on a daily basis for yourself before you're serving and filling up everyone else's cup. So, um, I had to ask too, because like you are someone who is constantly showing up real and raw on social media. Is that something, take us through a little bit of like, is that a strategy? Is it something you teach? Because I know just from learning from you inside of our sister circle community, you're really focused on building these just like real, authentic relationships and connections. And I think we overcomplicate social media way too much. So could you even just give us like a few quick tips of how we can show up more genuine and authentic to us on social, even amidst these crazy, chaotic schedules that we have? We say we're too busy for it, but you and I are both very busy people, and we still make it a point to show up and invite people in through social media.
I think there's two things that people struggle with. One is that they feel like they're not interesting enough. And the second
Yeah.
thing is that they feel it needs to be perfect. And, as you were just talking, I was thinking, like, yes, I do stories pretty much every day. Maybe not on the weekends, but every day I'm popping in and talking and sharing my face. I feel that I show up and it's not even a thought. And I tell people that has come from maybe 7 years of them doing this, because I remember it being something that I was like, "No, I have to do this today." Now it's just like, I have something to say and I'm gonna say it. And
Mhm.
speaking back to the workouts and stuff, usually first thing in the morning after my workout, I get in the car, I'm like, "Oh, I have so much to say," because like my brain
Yes.
is, yeah, or
Yes.
like
Like,
on
ding,
my
ding, ding,
car,
ding,
yeah,
ding.
or on my car ride on the way home. I have like a 20-minute car ride each way.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, I have so many things to say and I know what I'm going to say for content today. But I think like for tip wise is that, you feel like you're not interesting. I would argue that immediately, because I don't feel like I have an interesting life. my day-to-day is the same for the most part, right? Yes, I know I'm hosting events and retreats and things like that, and that's very exciting, but, like, yesterday, I didn't really do much. Like, I went to the dentist with my daughter, and I shared that, and then, I don't know, like, that, and I didn't really leave the house the rest of the day, and that's all. And today is the same thing, like, I'm not leaving the house today, and I have some exciting calls, but I think that people are just interested in your life in general. And we're also not saying to share every intimate detail of your life, but people want to connect with you on some sort of ground level. Whether that is you have coffee today, and you're going to tell us what kind of coffee you're drinking, or you have a cat with this name and it's this type of cat, or it's, super old and she's still kicking or whatever it is. We just like to get to know people regardless of what it is. So that is genuine connection. And that's how you show up authentically is like, it's not performative. When I'm showing
Mhm.
up on stories, it's not performative. It's just literally what I'm thinking in the moment. And I'll share highlights of my day and things like that. Um, there also is a part of me that yes, I don't share every intimate detail of my life, and I don't think anyone needs to, but I'm still going to share things that I feel either resonate with my audience or something that I feel like needs to be said, and then I'll share little tidbits of my life as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's such a good balance because, yeah, like some of your posts are directly about your offerings and your business. And then some are about your daughter or some are about your workout. And I literally said the same thing that joining the gym was one of the best things for my business. Cause it's usually like post gym that I will show up and be like, oh my gosh, like this is the idea that I had. It's like the thoughts that come through when you're in the shower. Same thing when you're working out. Um, and we need to share those things because like that is what makes people connect to us and makes us more human. And I have said that I think every business, every brand needs to see the founder behind it. There needs to be a face to the brand, the business. And those are the businesses that I want to buy from and do business with. And I think you probably feel the same way. So we will learn more from you on that at our Sister Circle Summit. So that kind of leads me to my last question. You are going to be one of our panelists on our Midwest Movers and Shakers panel, which is going to be all about just like trailblazing in a small town. So tell us, like, what is the trail that you're blazing in Northwest Indiana?
It's really just to do things differently and to challenge the status quo. And it's to do things differently because I feel like so if you're not familiar with where Northwest Indiana is, where I live in Crown Point, Indiana, it is anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour to Chicago, to downtown Chicago. We are not far away at all. We have Northwest Indiana is very Illinois and Chicago influenced. I don't recognize the Indianapolis Colts as a real football team. I recognize the Chicago Bears as a football team. A lot of people here in Northwest Indiana don't agree with a lot of what Indiana does politically. So like for us, it's such a different area from the rest of Indiana for the most part. However, there are still people here who are small town minded, don't like the Chicago influence. I'm definitely different in that way. I love Chicago. I love the city. But I think that there can be some sort of middle ground where we're not stuck in the past, but we can also enjoy where we're living because it is such a great area to be in. We have a lot of great influences from small businesses. We do have the influence of bigger cities such as Chicago. Um, we have there's a lot of different cultures here. It's not just like one race or another. There's so much. There's so many wonderful things. And I love the fact that we have a lot of small businesses, especially here in Crown Point, Indiana, where, we have like a little downtown district and there's like, there's little shops and things like that. So it's very small business heavy. But I think that what I've seen as far as, like, being in the local scene now for about a year and a half is that people just want to do things the same way everyone has ever done them, and it's hard for them to change. So I'm happy that I'm making connections with people who also want to change the status quo, and they're starting to believe that they don't need to go to a big city, that they can create momentum here. And I think that there's nothing wrong with that. Like, why can't we do it differently? Because clearly with what has worked in the past, like, it's not working for a lot of people anymore. So why can't we do things differently? Why can't we bring city influences in if it's going to make us better, but then also like let Northwest Indiana be a fun place to live? Because I know in my friend circle, like everyone moved away. Like they couldn't move away fast enough. But because, then a lot of us now who are starting families and have young families, now it's about like, okay, like how can we make this worthy of being here without having to drive and do a road trip to Chicago or Indianapolis? How can we make it fun? How can we make it lively? How can we be proud of where we live and not just be like, oh, I actually live in Northwest Indiana? But I think that that's what's happening. That's the shift I'm seeing from a lot of business owners. So I'm really happy to help a lot of local business owners. A lot of them are my clients, and just having them think about things differently than what maybe they've seen or have been told over the years.
Yes, I love it. And you know that I feel so much the same way of like, I live in a small town. And it is hard to kind of go against the grain. I mean, even the summit itself is something that, like, I don't know of any other place like nearby within a few hours that puts on an event like this in this way, where it is not just like a boring business event. It's also not something that is put on by an organization of people that are not business owners, because I think that's what most of the events are. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's great that we have those opportunities, but it's organizationally led. It's not put on by business owners who are like in real time in the trenches trying to figure out what other business owners need. And to actually do it in community. I think that the small towns sometimes can have this like competition mindset because, again, that's like the old school way of doing business. So to actually bring people together like you and I are doing with these small and larger events just shows that there is more to it, and we're trailblazing that for the future. So thank you so much for coming on the show today. We could just keep talking. We have so many things in common, and I'm looking forward to officially meeting you in real life in April. Before we sign off, can you let us know where to connect with you further, Lauren?
I am most active on Instagram, so you can follow me at Lauren Najar. And then I have some other profiles in my bio for events and for my podcasts. So feel free to keep up to date with those. And my website's just laurennajar.com, where you can find all of those things as well. But yeah, I'm a huge member, or I'm a huge user, I should say, of DMs and Messenger. So if there's something that you want to reach out to me about, I'm happy to chat with you.
Love it. Well, we're looking forward to learning more from you at Sister Circle Summit in April. So thanks for coming on today, and we look forward to meeting you then.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, sis, if this episode spoke to you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our weekly conversations that drop every Monday. And would you share this with a fellow sister that needs to hear this message too? If you're craving sisterhood, soul, and strategy in action, I'd love for you to step inside our Sister Circle community, where we gather, grow, and build intentional businesses together in real life and real time. I promise, business is more fun in sisterhood. Until next time, keep leading with soul, honoring your season, and don't forget, I'm always cheering for you.